Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
In the intellectual landscape of the early 20th century, a period of profound upheaval in philosophy, logic, and mathematics, emerged a work of extraordinary density and influence, Ludwig Wittgenstein's Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, published in 1921. This slim volume, a mere 70 pages in its original German, stands as a monumental achievement, offering a radical new framework for understanding the relationship between language, thought, and the world. To appreciate the Tractatus, it is essential to consider the intellectual currents that swirled around Wittgenstein, his philosophical predecessors, and his specific problems he set out to resolve. The intellectual context of the early 20th century teemed with challenges to traditional philosophical assumptions. The rise of modern science, particularly physics and mathematics, instigated a crisis of certainty. Developments in set theory, such as the paradoxes discovered by Bertrand Russell, exposed fundamental contradictions at the heart of mathematics. Similarly, in physics, the demise of classical mechanics and the emergence of quantum mechanics and relativity cast doubt on the very nature of reality. Philosophers grappled with the implications of these discoveries, questioning the foundations of knowledge, language, the possibility of achieving a truly objective understanding of the. Wittgenstein's intellectual journey began with his study of engineering, before transitioning to mathematics and then to philosophy under Bertrand Russell at Cambridge. Russell, a leading figure in the development of analytic philosophy, was grappling with the problem of logical atomism, the view that the world could be analysed into basic, independent facts. He envisioned a logically perfect language that would mirror the structure of reality. Wittgenstein adopted and expanded upon Russell's ideas, but eventually forged his own distinct path. He focused on the relationship between language and reality, seeking to establish the limits of what could be meaningfully said. Prior to the Tractatus, the logical positivists, a group of philosophers influenced by the work of Ernst Mach and the Vienna Circle, emphasized the importance of empirical verification for determining the meaning of a statement. They believed that only statements that could be verified empirically were meaningful. Wittgenstein agreed with this emphasis on empirical verification, but he took it a radical step further. The Tractatus provides a view that the limits of language are the limits of thought. The world, for Wittgenstein, is the totality of facts, not of things. Facts are states of affairs, which are combinations of objects. These objects exist in space and time, and their configurations give rise to the facts that make up reality. The core of the Tractatus lies in its picture theory of language. Wittgenstein argued that a proposition, a statement that can be either true or false, is a picture of a fact. A picture, in this context, represents a state of affairs through a structural analogy. A picture, like a painting or a photograph, models reality. The elements of the picture correspond to the objects in the fact, and the structure of the picture mirrors the structure of the fact. The way the elements are arranged in the picture represents the way the objects are arranged in the fact. This structural similarity between language and reality is what makes it possible for language to represent the world. The logical structure of a proposition, Wittgenstein argued, is isomorphic to the logical structure of a fact. The words of a sentence, like the elements of a picture, must be arranged in a specific way to represent the state of affairs. If the arrangement of the words in the sentence mirrors the arrangement of the objects in fact, the sentence is true. If the arrangement of the words does match the arrangement of the objects, the sentence is false. The truth or falsehood of a proposition is determined by whether the proposition corresponds to the fact it claims to picture. The key, then, to successful and meaningful language use is to create propositions that accurately depict the. Wittgenstein further explored the nature of logical form. He believed that all logical truths, the tautologies, are empty of factual content, making them true by definition. He stated that tautologies say nothing, they are analytic, and they show the logical structure of language. Tautologies are, in effect, true as a result of the rules of language itself. Similarly, contradictions are false because they violate the rules of language. Logical forms, the structures underlying all meaningful statements, are not themselves representable in language, as they merely provide the conditions for representation. They are instead shown through the structure of propositions. Wittgenstein's account of language has profound implications for philosophy. He maintained that many traditional philosophical problems arise from the misuse of language. Problems about the nature of the self, ethics, aesthetics, and metaphysics are, according to Wittgenstein, fundamentally meaningless. Since these questions are outside the realm of what can be meaningfully said, they cannot be resolved by philosophical argument. These problems are the result of trying to speak about things about which we are unable to speak meaningfully. Statements about ethel, For example, that factual claims about therefore cannot be true or false, so that empirical. The Tractatus concludes with the famous statement whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. This famous maxim summarizes Wittgenstein's view on the limits of language and the proper role of philosophy. Philosophy, according to Wittgenstein, is not a collection of doctrines but an activity. Its task is to clarify the logical structure of thought and language by identifying and eliminating the pseudo-problems that arise from the misuse of language. It is not philosophy's function to answer the unanswerable or try to peer into the realm that remains beyond comprehension. The impact of the Tractatus was immediate and immense. Its radical views on language, logic, and philosophy challenged conventional wisdom. Its influence can be seen within the logical positivist movement. The logical positivists were inspired by the Tractatus' account of language and its focus on the importance of empirical verification. They adopted Wittgenstein's view that metaphysics and ethics are essentially meaningless, and aimed to create a scientific philosophy that would be free of the pseudo-problems that had plagued traditional metaphysics. The Tractatus, in effect, provided an intellectual cornerstone for their program. The Tractatus also influenced the development of analytic philosophy. Philosophers sought to clarify the logical structure of language and thought. They developed new techniques for analyzing the meaning of statements, inspired by the Tractatus' view of the essential role of the underlying logical form. Wittgenstein's framework spurred explorations into logic, with a focus on the construction of formal languages capable of mapping the structure of the world, mirroring Wittgenstein's initial intent. The Tractatus also served as a catalyst for new debates and discussions in the philosophy of language. A central issue was the very picture theory itself. Critics questioned whether a picture could capture the complexities of language and meaning. They questioned whether the logical form could be adequately captured by Wittgenstein's approach, and whether the distinction between saying and showing could be maintained. This critical process, in turn, led to refinements and modifications to the original. Despite its influence, the Tractatus also faced criticism. Some philosophers found its logical atomism too restrictive, and questioned whether the world could be broken down into basic facts and logically simple objects. Its focus on logical form was deemed inadequate. The limitations of its picture of language were also questioned. The meaning of a word, critics argued, cannot be reduced to the object that it names, and meaning is far more complex than a simple picture. Those criticisms contributed to Wittgenstein's own re-evaluation of his earlier ideas. Wittgenstein himself eventually came to reject the central tenets of the Tractatus. In his later work, especially Philosophical Investigations, published posthumously, he abandoned the picture theory. He realized that language is not a static mirror of reality, but a complex system of practices. Meaning, he came to believe, is not found in the structure of language, but in its use. He realized that language is not a rigid and formal structure, multifaceted. The legacy of the Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus lies in its impact on philosophy and our understanding of language. Thought, its influence resonates within logic, analytic philosophy, and the philosophy of language. It served as a catalyst for debates and discussions concerning the nature of meaning, the structure of language, and the limits of human understanding. It pushed us to think more closely about the relationship between what can be said and what can be thought, and about the very possibility of attaining an objective understanding of reality. Even though Wittgenstein eventually rejected the picture theory and his initial vision of a logically perfect language, the ideas presented within the Tractatus remain a landmark of 20th century thought. It continues to challenge and stimulate philosophers, and it has left an enduring mark on our understanding of our ability to grasp the nature of the world. The influence of the Tractatus extended far beyond philosophy, shaping broader intellectual discourse and influencing fields such as linguistics, computer science, and even art and literature. Wittgenstein's work, in its precision and its quest for clarity, will forever inspire those who seek to understand the very foundations of meaning and knowledge.
We really appreciate you tuning into this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.